Welcome to PCA 2024, brought to you by So let's talk about this bold background. I mean, we've got the red, we've got the white, we've got the black. I mean, this thing it lets you know we're here and we've got cigars. But the thing about the Powstanie cigars to me is that yes, it has a fullness to it, but it has a balance to it.
Yes.
It's not something that's going to try and knock you upside your head. It's something that you may get into a little scuffle with it, but you're happy that you're rolling around in the dirt.
Absolutely.
Right? And so this is the man right here, and I'm going to let him share all the great things of Powstanie.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mike Stepankevich, Powstanie Cigars. We have been producing cigars for 10 years. We started originally with our Habano line, and it has grown into the broadleaf line, and then our recent creation was the Powstanie Connecticut. We released the Connecticut blend at the show of PCA last year. It has a Pennsylvania broadleaf binder under it, which gives it this flavor profile unlike any other Connecticut that you've smoked. So it's fuller in body, but still has that mildness and that complexity. This show, we are releasing the Justice, which is a 5.5 by 46 Corona Gorda. It is the original Vitola that I made for this cigar, and I made this cigar actually 10 years ago. It never was created until last year for regular consumption. When my wife was pregnant, we made these cigars. We called them Apollo Danny, and we were going to name Justice at the time. We were going to name Apollo if it was a boy, and Danny if it was a girl. And when we determined that it was a boy, we had to renegotiate the name. I was a big proponent of Apollo. She was not. So Justice was the name. So this cigar actually has his name on it. And when I showed it to him for the first time about 6 or 7 months ago, he was like, cool, great. So then I started doing little Instagram videos and incorporating him playing football and these other things and showing and talking about the cigar. And then he's like, oh, and he's my middle kid. He's not my oldest, and he's not my youngest, which is my daughter. So he always is very competitive. Like I'm the one everybody loves the most, So he's the only one that has a cigar named after it. So we're super excited about this cigar. It's extremely important to me. It's very special to me, and I'm fortunate enough to release it on the show and have guys like yourself talking about it. So it's last year the War Bear and the Connecticut got quite a buzz, really really positive from a lot of media, So we're just going to continue to build on that, keep working hard and keep growing. So
I heard you talking about how you don't just want to make a cigar that everybody else makes. You want to have your own signature, your own fingerprint on it.
Yes.
And almost to the point of, if you're just trying to make what everybody else is making, why don't you stop making it and let everybody else keep making it?
Yeah.
And so you're carving out your niche.
Yes.
In those flavors.
Yeah. So being in this industry for 15 years as a retailer, as well as 10 years as my own brand and distributor for other brands, I've seen companies come and go. I've seen them fade. And normally, what happens? What happens is their cigar is the same, right? Or their cigar doesn't have meaning, or there's no purpose. That somebody else just created a cigar for them, and they're like, I'm going to take it to market. And then you realize how hard this industry actually is. It's extremely tough. So, if you have to, I could tell you that you can be extremely passionate about it. You can invest time and energy in creating something new. You can have a brand that looks fantastic, and you can still struggle every single day. And I could tell you every single year I've always been unsatisfied with the overall sales of things. I always feel like we can do better, and I always feel like I can do better. And after 10 years of doing that and having that mentality, you're seeing that it works, right? I don't think that I'm built to ever be actually satisfied. I think that a lot of people would look at our brand and say, man, you guys are doing great. I'm looking at it like, we can do better, and I would always look at that every year, no matter how many cigars I produced and how many cigars I sold. I just want to do more. I want to win at every avenue of life. So, and this is one of those avenues for sure.
It's fantastic. I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here smoking this thing, and I was looking at the construction before we started talking, and the construction is flawless. I mean, there's no veins on it at all. The seams are tight and tiny, and the flavors though. the flavors eclipse the construction.
Yeah.
There's a balance. It covers your tongue like gravy.
Yeah.
You can't get away from the flavor, and you're glad that it won't go away.
Thanks,
And the finish, I mean, it's got that fullness to it, but there's not a harshness in the finish.
Yeah.
You're not reaching something to drink.
Yeah, when I blended that cigar, San Andreas is a very overbearing wrapper, right? So when you use a very thick and bold San Andreas wrapper, how do you offset that so that it doesn't taste like every other San Andreas cigar? Well, my thought concept was, okay, well, let's barber pull it and let's use more of a neutral wrapper with a Habano, and then offset that with bigger fillers so that it has all those complexities, it has all those flavor profiles, and it doesn't taste like every other San Andreas cigar in existence. And that cigar has always given me some notoriety. We've made it in different patolas every couple of years for one of our limited runs. And this Corona Gorda box press was a huge hit last year. I only have a few boxes of it left, so I'm very like, I don't want to give it away, because it's one of those cigars that's super important to me. I love, for a long time, I'd go for a walk around the block with my neighbor. That was the cigar I'd grab, because I love the flavor of it, and it's box press. So it's easy to smoke, and you don't have to constantly light it and keep it going, right? So you can have conversation. You can walk around with it. So, for me, that one in particular was really, really a knock out of the park.
Well, I'm honored that I got to smoke it because this is amazing.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I really do enjoy it. So, what's the next iteration for y'all? What are you leaning towards? What are you going after?
Well, I think the next creation that's going to happen is, our Connecticut broadleaf is really kind of hard to come across, high quality. So I'm going to need something to replace that in my portfolio of that boldness, but it has to have my own blend and concept. So in the following months, I'm going to fly down to Nicaragua, and we're going to work on some different things, some different concepts, maybe some San Andreas Claro, something that has that boldness, but still gives me the ability to add more flavor profile to the filler and with the binder and stuff like that.
So being that it's such a bold and heavy, thicker tobaccos, how hard is it to make sure that your burn is going to be right and everything is, because you start having so many thicker things in there?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I honestly start with flavor. So that's always my first concept, is I want to know what it's going to taste like. Like the burn will come later in the blend process. I mean, when I say later, it's like a few hours later. But I'm like, hey, this is what I want to taste, right? And then as we're lighting it and smoke it, it's like, okay, now we have a problem. How do we offset that? So normally you can offset that with some Dominican fillers, some things that don't have a lot of complexity, a lot of flavor profiles. Those kind of keep things going in that realm. I'm a big proponent of, hey, listen, it doesn't have to burn perfectly. Just because I don't mind. I'm one of those habitual lighter guy. Like I want to, like out of boredom or whatever the case may be. So if I have to critique it a little bit, as long as I know that the flavor is going to be there, that's what's more important to me. So that's where I start. I mean, to be honest, the Powstanie line didn't even have a brand name until we had a cigar. Well, what the hell are we going to call this? So like I start in flavor and then build around that.
Well, the construction, as you can see, is just doing great, and the tobacco's aged well with that tiny mascara line. This is a banger.
Working with the right factory makes all the difference, man. Nika Sueño and Aromacraft guys, they go out and they cure the right tobacco. They acquire all those things. I don't have that ability. Like there are guys that are in this industry generations, right? So, I could look at a Palone and say, oh, it looks like good tobacco, but it might not be great tobacco. So I'm fortunate enough to be working with those guys where I know that I go to blend a cigar, it's going to be fantastic.
Right.
A lot of other guys, you can go to a factory and you're not going to get something of that level. They'll just say, oh yeah, here's your cigar. So
well, I hope you have great success continuing, and I got to tell you, it's good stuff. So, sure. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks so much for your
You're
time.
awesome. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.